بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. أما بعد، قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى ونفعنا بعلومه بسنده إلى سهل بن أبي حثمة أو رافع بن خديج رضي الله تعالى عنهما أنهما حدثاه أن عبد الله بن سهل ومحيصة بن مسعود أتيا خيبر فتفرقا في النخل. عبد الله bin Sahal and Muhayyisa bin Mas'ud, these are two cousins, and they had some gardens in Khaybar. Without going into too much detail, around the year 7 after Hijrah, the lands of Khaybar were conquered, and the Jews that lived there made an agreement with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that they would farm the land, they would look after the date palms, and they would share the proceeds with the Muslims 50-50. So lots of Muslims had their own lands there as well, which they had received. So these two cousins they traveled together. Once they reached the area of Khaybar, each of them went into their own gardens. كيف تفرقا في النخل, to look after, to take care of their individual date palms, their trees. فقتل عبد الله بن سهل. One of them was killed. Abdullah bin Sahl was killed. فجاء عبد الرحمن بن سهل وحويصة ومحيصة ابن مسعود إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So Abdul Rahman bin Sahal, who is the brother of the victim, and his two cousins Huwayyisa and Muhayyisa, they came to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. فَتَكَلَّمُوا فِي أَمْرِ صَاحِبِهِمْ, and they spoke about the matter of their cousin. فَبَدَأَ عَبْدُ الرَّحْمَنِ, Abdul Rahman began to speak, because he was the brother of the deceased. However, وَكَانَ أَصْغَرَ الْقَوْمِ, he was the youngest of them. فقال له النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كبر الكبر, start with the eldest, or allow the eldest, meaning allow the eldest to speak. So this is the purpose of this hadith. The chapter is Babun يبدأ الكبير بالكلام والسؤال, that the eldest should begin in speaking and asking. So he said, out of respect, you should let the eldest speak. قال يحيى يعني ليلي الكلام الأكبر, that the eldest should be the one to speak. فتكلموا في أمر صاحبهم, so they spoke. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أتستحقون قتيلكم أو قال صاحبكم بأيمان 50 منكم؟ قالوا يا رسول الله أمر لم نره. قال فتبرئكم يهود بأيمان 50 منهم؟ قالوا يا رسول الله قوم كفار. فوداهم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من قبله. قال سهل فأدركت ناقة من تلك الإبل فدخلت مربدا لهم فركضتني برجلها. So the mas'ala of qasamat applies here. Qasamat is a concept in Islamic fiqh where if a murder victim is found dead in a certain area or within a certain community, then 50 people of those community are brought in front of a judge, in front of the governor, and they must take an oath that wallahi ma qatalnahum wa la na'lamu lahum qatila, that wallah, we did not kill this person, nor do we know of who killed him. So if they all take this oath, now usually, if they are God fearing, and they will take this oath, if somebody has any information, then they would say that I know this person might have done it, etc. If they don't, if they all say we don't know and they all take an oath, then that community will pay the diya. The diya is the 1,000 camels, so or the money, a certain amount of coins. So that must be paid by that community. So in this way, it creates a sort of sense of communal responsibility. That if somebody's killed on our street, on our backyard, how can we not know about it? How can we not? How can we be so careless that if somebody's killed in our area, we don't even know? So they are asked to pay. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that, do you want to take the yameen from them? So they said, yes, they're not Muslims. What, they'll easily lie. They won't give us any information, and we don't expect them to be paying us. So then Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam paid the diya from himself. This could be from his personal money or from the Baytul Mal. Uh, So Sahal says that one of those camels, the 100 camels that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave, one of them came to me in my in my share, and I went into the enclosure, the mirbad, where the camels are kept, and one of them kicked me. Just remembering that he recognized that camel, and the camel kicked him. Why did Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam pay the camels? He didn't have to, but it was just to uh, calm them down, to make them feel better. At least they could get something, um, which was the norm at that time. Normally, the murderer would have to pay, but because the murderer was not known, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam paid from his own side. Okay. The next chapter is Babun إذا لم يتكلم الكبير هل للأصغر أن يتكلم. The in the last hadith, it says that the elders should speak. So someone might think that means the youngsters always have to remain quiet. So Imam Bukhari is explaining that's not necessarily the case. If the elders don't want are not speaking, they have nothing to say, um, then the youngster can speak. It means the young ones should allow the elders the opportunity first to speak. And then if the elders have said their part or they have nothing to say, then the youngsters can speak. Yeah. So, in the hadith of Ibn Umar رضي الله عنهما قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أخبروني بشجرة مثلها مثل المسلم تؤتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها لا تحط ورقها. That tell me of a tree, Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم said, tell me of a tree that is like a Muslim. It gives its fruit at all times by the will of its Lord, and its leaves never fall. It's a famous hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked the Sahaba which tree is similar to a Muslim. Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma said, I came in my mind that it's a date palm, but I felt shy to say it. When I told my father later, he said, I wish you would have said it. It would have been worth more to me than so much. In some riwayat, more than red camels. So, first of all, what's the similarity between a Muslim and the tree? Ulama have gone into great detail in this. The date palm is a very beneficial tree. It's a very strong and firm tree. It's resilient. Lots of storms can come, nothing happens to it. Likewise, a Muslim is strong and resilient. And the date palm gives very nice, sweet fruits. So a Muslim is kind and he speaks good and he does good actions and he is beneficial to those around him. And the date palm provides beautiful shade and comfort. So, in the same way, a Muslim provides comfort to those around him, and so many other similarities which ulama have mentioned. The purpose of bringing the hadith here is because Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu said, I wish you would have spoken. Ibn Umar said that, Abu Bakr, Umar, the senior Sahaba were there. That's why I felt shy to speak. Said, I wish you would have spoken. That shows that if he had spoken, even though he was a young boy and there were elders present, if he had spoken, that would have been a good thing. So it's not necessary that the young ones always stay silent in front of their elders. When it's time to speak, and it's appropriate to speak, then they should speak. So the translation is that Rasulullah says, tell me of a tree which is like a Muslim. It gives its fruit always with its Rabb's command, Allah's command, and it does not shed its leaves. Its leaves never fall. فوقع في نفسي النخلة. Abdullah ibn Umar says that it came in my mind that it is the date palm. فكرهت أن أتكلم, but I disliked speaking. وتم أبو بكر وعمر رضي الله عنهما, whilst the likes of Abu Bakr and Umar were there رضي الله عنهما. فلما لم يتكلم, since they did not speak, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم هي النخلة. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it is the date palm. فلما خرجت مع أبي قلت يا أبتي وقع في نفس النخلة. When I went out with my father, I said, "Oh my dear father, the date palm came in my mind." فقال ما منعك أن تقولها. He said, what stopped you from saying it? لو كنت قلتها كان أحب إلي من كذا وكذا. If you had said it, it would have been more beloved to me, more welcome to me than so and so. قال ما منعني إلا أني لم أرك ولا أبا بكر تكلمتما فكرهته. Nothing stopped me except that I saw yourself and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu not speaking, so I disliked to say something. This shows that youngsters can speak when the elders um, have already spoken or don't or are not saying anything. What's wrong is to speak in front of them, ahead of them, or to interrupt your elders. Babu tasweed al-akabir. Tasweed, to make a sayyid, to make a leader. So it means that the leaders should be the elders. The elders should be made as leaders and chiefs. Yeah. عن حكيم بن قيس بن عاصم أن أباه أوصى عند موته بنيه فقال. So Hakim narrates from his father Qais bin Asim. Now, Qais bin Asim, when he was passing away, he gave some advice. Who is Qais bin Asim? He's from the Banu Tamim tribe. He came in a delegation of Banu Tamim. He was a very generous and a very noble character. Even before Islam, it's narrated that he prohibited wine for his people. He disliked wine because he saw the harms of it. And when he came to Rasulullah, Rasulullah made him the leader of his people. Yes, so he was the leader of his qawm, appointed by Rasulullah. So when Qais bin Asim radiallahu anhu, was Sahabi, he was on his deathbed, he gave this advice to his sons. فقال اتقوا الله, fear Allah, وسودوا أكبركم, and give your leadership to your eldest. فإن القوم إذا سودوا أكبرهم خلفوا آباءهم. That when people make their eldest their leader, they succeed their fathers, meaning in good practices. That when you have this system where every time one generation leaves, the immediate, the eldest take over and the eldest take over, then because they've stayed with their elders and they've seen them, they've observed them, they've learned the experience from them, so they carry on their footsteps in their way, and that way the same traditions stay. But if you skip a generation and go right to the youngsters, the younger ones, and they take over, then what happens? فَإِذَا سَوَّدُوا أَصْغَرَهُم. That if they make the young ones their leaders, أَزْرَى بِهِمْ ذَلِكَ فِي أَكْفَائِهِمْ. They lower their own standing. Meaning this act lowers their standing فِي أَكْفَائِهِمْ, amongst their peers. Meaning other groups will look down. If you have a certain group, and nowadays you could say a company, where the least experienced person becomes the CEO just because he has some connection or just because of who he is, without having the skill and the experience and the competence, then others will look at that and look down on that. This is, this person is not experienced. How is he going to take the leadership? So you should give it to the most competent people, and usually that's the eldest because they have the experience. Okay. And another meaning of this is that if you give the leadership to your young ones, then they will end up doing such things. They will end up doing such things which will lower their standing amongst people due to their lack of experience. Allahu a'lam. وَعَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمَالِ وَاصْطِنَاعِهِ. And take care of your money and use it well. Yeah. فإنه منبهة الكريم ويستغنى به عن اللئيم. Because it increases respect for the generous and makes you in no need of lowly, mean people. La'im, people of low morals and low character, base character. So if some people have this concept that people of religion shouldn't have a lot of wealth, or ulama shouldn't display wealth. So he's saying, no, you should have a decent amount of wealth as well. There's nothing wrong with accumulating wealth for the right reasons, because through wealth, a person gains some, he can keep his honor amongst people. Whereas uh, when a person doesn't have wealth, then the wretched people, the bad people in the community, will take that as an opportunity to disgrace him, to look down on him, and to uh, be harsh to him, cause him difficulty. So to have enough wealth that you can stand up for yourself, and you can protect your honor, is commendable, and it's a good thing. Okay, in other places we mentioned, نعم المال الصالح للرجل الصالح. For a good person, uh, good wealth is a good thing. I mean, if you accumulate wealth in the right way and you spend it in the right way, it's not a bad thing. Even some Sahaba had lots of wealth. Uthman Ghani and uh, Abdullah ibn Abdurrahman bin Auf, the famous ones. So have some wealth, don't be poor, so that you can save yourself from people's harm. وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَمَسْأَلَةَ النَّاسِ, and beware of begging from people. فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ آخِرِ كَسْبِ الرَّجُلِ, because it is from the last method of earning for a person. Okay, or because begging gives the lowest acquisition a person may have, it says here. Meaning, begging should be the last thing you do to acquire wealth. Um, when you're absolutely desperate. Otherwise, don't ever ask someone. Once, in a riwayat, another riwayat, it comes when a person opens the door of begging for himself, then Allah opens the door of poverty on him. So when you get in the habit of begging, then you'll never be able to earn your own living. You'll always be used to asking others. So you should refrain from asking others. Try and be independent. وَإِذَا مُتُّ فَلَا تَنُوحُوا. When I die, do not wail over me. Noha, wailing, is a specific type of crying, deliberate crying and lamenting over the dead. Okay, if a person naturally cries, if someone passes away and you naturally cry, that is not haram. But what they would do in Jahiliyyah is they would invite people, and sometimes they would even employ people and pay to do Nawha, which is that, to cry and wail and sing praise of the deceased, even though it's not sincere. They don't really care about who's died, but it's just doing it as a display, as a show to show others. So this type of Nawha is haram. Natural crying is allowed, but to force yourself to cry fake in this way, and which is known as noha, is haram. So don't do noha. Don't lament and wail over me. فإنه لم ينحى على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Subhanallah. That there was no lamentation and no wailing over Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Meaning, if anybody deserved noha, it was Rasulullah. If there was no noha on him, then Sayyidina Qais is saying, why would you do noha over me? وإذا مت فادفنوني بأرض لا يشعر بدفني بكر بن وائل. So when I die, bury me in such a place where the tribe of Bakr bin Wa'il will not know of my grave. فإني كنت أعاديهم في الجاهلية. In the other kitab, it's slightly different wording here. It means that I used to have enmity. I think it's ujahiluhum or ugadiluhum. That uh, uh, I used to attack them unknowingly, or occasionally I would attack them in Jahiliyyah. Meaning in Jahiliyyah, they had some enmity for each other. So he's saying that um, if they might try and take revenge on me after my death, so don't let them know where you bury me. فإني كنت أغافلهم. Sorry, I was mistaken. Over here is أعاديهم, and in some copies is أغافلهم. So unknowingly I attack them, or I had enmity for them. I was surprised, used to stage surprise raids against them in Jahiliyyah before Islam. That's hadith of Qais bin Asim. Next hadith, Babun يعطي الثمرة أصغر من حضر من الولدان. Some adab here, that when a new fruit comes, Rasulullah SAW would uh, say the dua and then he would give it to the youngest person. Okay, this shows Rasulullah SAW's kindness, and the kindness of his character, that he would start with the youngest. Because generally young children are excited, when the new fruit comes, or something new, the first fruit of the season. So the young children are excited. He would give them first. So, عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال كان رسول الله إذا أتي بالزهو. So when the early date fruits will be brought to Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, he would say, اللهم بارك لنا في مدينتنا, O Allah bless us in our city, ومدنا وصاعنا. Mud and sa' are two measures that were commonly used in the markets in those days to sell things. It's a measure of volume. Okay, one sa' of wheat nowadays, in kilos, comes to about 3.5 kilos, they say, and a mud is quarter of a sa'. This type of container, if you were in the market, you'd say, you could have 5 sa'. So you fill the container five, put it into a bag or basket, whatever, and you take that with you. So by saying bless us in our mud and sa', it means bless us in those things which we have in our mud and sa', which is typically food stuff. So bless us in our dates, in our wheat, in our barley, etc. Barakatan ma'a barakah. Yani blessing upon blessing. ثم ناوله أصغر من يليه من البلدان. Then he would give it to the youngest child in attendance. So we should learn this dua. There are a few other du'as as well. So when a new fruit comes, especially like you have the mango season, mangoes come, and then date season, dates come. So when a new type of fruit comes, meaning the first of that season of that year, then we should read this dua before we eat it, and if there are young children present, start with them according to the sunnah. Babu rahmati saghir, having mercy and showing kindness to the young. عن عمرو بن شعيب عن أبيه عن جده أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ليس منا من لم يرحم صغيرنا ويعرف حق كبيرنا, that he does not belong to us who is not compassionate to our young and does not recognize the rights due to our elderly. We've discussed this hadith previously. Babu mu'anaqati sabi, mu'anaqa, to hug. So it's permissible to hug a child out of affection and love. أن يعرف ذرة أنه قال خرجنا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ودعينا إلى طعام فإذا بحسين عليه السلام يلعب في الطريق. Ya'la bin Murrah says, we went out with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We were invited for dinner. So the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Hussein bin Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, was playing in the path. فأسرع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أمام القوم. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam rushed ahead towards him. ثم بسط يديه, and he spread out his arms. فجعل يمر مرة ها هنا ومرة ها هنا. So Sayyidina Hussein would run this way and that way. Like they were playing a game. So he's trying to run past him, and Rasulullah is stopping him. يضاحكه, playfully, yeah, he was making him laugh, حتى أخذه, until he took hold of him. فجعل إحدى يديه في ذقنه والأخرى في رأسه. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam put one hand under his chin and the other on his head. ثم اعتنقه فقبله, and then he hugged him and he kissed him. ثم قال صلى الله عليه وسلم حسين مني وأنا منه. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Hussein belongs to me and I belong to Hussein. He's from me, I am from him. Meaning we have such a close connection, it's like we belong to each other. أحب الله من أحب الحسن والحسين. May Allah love the one who loves Hassan and Hussein. صبطان من الأسباط. They are grandchildren from amongst the grandchildren. What does this mean, Sibtum min al-asbat or Sibtai min al-asbat? One meaning is that they are my grandchildren. They are very special and very beloved grandchildren. And some ulama have written in the commentary, Ad-Durr al-Munandad, the author has written that maybe there's a indication here that their progeny will spread. They are grandchildren from many grandchildren, meaning that their lineage will spread. And we see that the children of Hassan and Hussein, which are known as Sadat-e-Kiram, the honorable Sayyids, they spread throughout the world. Allah Ta'ala has given so much blessing in their progeny. Babu قبلة الرجل الجارية الصغيرة. There's a young girl, and you're allowed to give her a kiss out of affection. أنه رأى عبد الله بن جعفر يقبل زيد بنت عمر بن أبي سلمة وهي ابنة سنتين أو نحوه. That Makhrama bin Bukair reports from his father that he saw Abdullah ibn Ja'far radiallahu anhuma. Abdullah bin Ja'far, the son of Ja'far, who is the brother of Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he resembled his father greatly and he was known for his generosity. Um, of course, Ja'far was amongst those who did Hijrah to Habasha, and then they returned in the year 6 after Hijrah, and he passed away in the Ghazwa of Muta. So this is his son. So he would kiss the daughter of Umar bin Abi Salama. Abu Salama and his wife Salama, they also did Hijrah to Habasha, Abyssinia, and then they came to Medina. And then Abu Salama passed away, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam married Salama. So this Umar, you could say, is the stepson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He grew up under the care of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that famous hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to a young child, "Ya kul bi yamin, sammi Allah wa kul bi yaminik wa kul mimma yalik." The young child was eating, and Rasulullah said, "O son, say Allah's name and eat with your right hand and eat in front of you." The very famous hadith. That hadith, the young child was this Umar bin Abi Salama. So Abdullah bin Ja'far um, kissed his daughter Zainab وهي ابنة سنتين أو نحو, and she was a girl of around 2 years of age. So of course there's no kind of other reason except for affection and love here, so it's permissible. عن الحسن رضي الله تعالى عنه قال إن استطعت أن لا تنظر إلى شعر أحد من أهلك إلا أن يكون أهلك أو صبية فافعل. This is Hassan al-Basri. Hassan al-Basri rahimahullah رضي عنه says that if you are able to not look at the hair of anyone in your family except your wife or young child, young girl, then do so. Okay? We know the mas'ala. The mas'ala is that with regards to your maharim, the close family relatives who you're not allowed to marry, with regards to them, you're allowed to look at their hair and their arms. Okay, certain satar mentioned in the books of fiqh. Other than that, you can look at them. However, Hassan is saying even then, other than your wife and very young girls, try not to look at the hair, even if it's your sister or mother. It's better if they conceal it. This is ihtiyat. This is a caution. It's better. It's taqwa. It's not something necessary. Okay, Hassan Basri is a tabi'i, and this is his advice. My father often says that in this day and age, even in front of maharim, like nieces, nephews, uh, aunties, uncles, etc., it's better to conceal as much as possible. We live in a we live in difficult times where society has become very corrupted and people's minds have become over sexualized. So, people in the previous times would never look at their close relatives in that way. And Allah Ta'ala has permitted opening the satar in front of them for this reason, that they wouldn't even look at them in that way. And there's a need, if you're living together in the same house, it's difficult to stay covered all the time. But nowadays, we should try and cover from even brothers, sisters. I'm not saying the face, but at least, the other parts of the body, at least below the head. Try and keep it covered as much as possible. In some households, the girls walk around with vests or short sleeve tops, tight clothing, and the brothers are there, cousins come in. It's not appropriate. It can cause fitna, and shaitan can put bad thoughts in the other people's minds. So this is the advice of Hassan al-Basri radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Babu mashi ra'si sabi, to pass one's hand over the head of a child. This is something that's commendable, advisable, and is established in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So حدثني يوسف بن عبد الله بن السلام قال سماني رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يوسف. Yusuf, the son of Abdullah bin Salam. Abdullah bin Salam is a famous Sahabi. He was a Jewish scholar. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to Medina, he came and he said, Ya Rasulullah, he asked 3 questions. And when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam answered those questions, he immediately accepted Islam. And there's a famous story where he said, "Ya Rasulullah, when the Jews, the Jewish community are coming to let me hide and ask them about me." So Rasulullah asked them, and they said, "Huwa khayruna wa ibnu khayrina," that he is the best of us, and his father, Salam, is also the best of us. Then he came out and said, "Yeah, actually, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. I'm a Muslim." They said, "La la sharruna wa ibnu sharrina." They did a full U-turn, 180 degrees, and said, "No, no, he's a very wretched person, and even his father was wretched." So Abdullah bin Salam had a child, had a boy. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam named that child Yusuf. So this Yusuf is also a Sahabi, a young Sahabi. He says, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam placed me on his lap, and he passed his hand over my head. He stroked my head. So out of affection, if you do this to children, is sunnah. And Aisha رضي الله عنها قالت كنت ألعب بالبنات عند النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Aisha رضي الله عنها says, I used to play with dolls in the house of Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. وكان لي صواحب يلعبن معي, and I had some friends who would play with me. Now, there's long discussion on this hadith from a fiqh point of view, the ruling of dolls. I won't go into it right now. Generally, ulama say that this is either mansukh, meaning abrogated, and when surah and images were made haram, this also became haram. Or, like Mawlana Shah Kashmir Rahmatullah alayhi says that they wouldn't have been very sophisticated dolls like we have nowadays. No, they were just rags which they would play with, rags and sticks, things like that. So they wouldn't come under the ruling of surah. So we would play with them. فكان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم دخل ينقمعنا منه. Then when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would come, then my friends, these my friends would hide away from him. Out of shyness, they'd move away. فيسربهن إلي فيلعبن معي. So he would call them to join me, and we would play together. Because Aisha, then I was young, and some say that she liked to, she liked to nurse children and look after young children. They would come and she would make them play. So Nabi Sallallahu encouraged us. He didn't say to them girls that no, go away. When I'm in the house, you shouldn't be here. No, he encouraged. He said, carry on playing. It's fine. I'll do my thing. You carry on playing. So this shows that we should be allow children to be children. Let them play. Let them enjoy, and it shouldn't affect us. There's a very pious Buzrug, Maulana Fazlur Rahman Ganj Muradabadi Rahmatullahi alayhi, and he was known for his they say ru'b, his lot of awe, and his murids were very, would be scared of him to do anything wrong. They be scared he was very sensitive, so he'd get annoyed very quickly. So one of his murids came, one of his khalifas in fact came from far to visit him, and he had a young child with him. So the whole way he explained to the child that, look, when you're in front of Hazrat, you shouldn't be moving, you shouldn't flinch, don't talk, don't mess about, sit still. So when he came, the son was on his best behavior. So Hazrat got very angry. He said, You've given me a headache. He said, why? He said, is this a child? Is this how children sit? Like, this child should be running around. He should be playing. He should be jumping about, causing mayhem. Why is he sat here like this? A similar story with is related from Maulana Shafai Thanwi Rahmatullah alayhi as well. That the same thing happened. In the whole, they say his Khalifa, in the whole train journey, he was shouting at his child that don't you dare do anything, say anything, just sit still. When he came one time, he said, what kind of a child is this? This is an old man. A child is supposed to be playing and running about. So you should let kids be kids, let them play, let them enjoy. This is the teaching of our deen. And we can see this in the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next chapter is Babu Qawli Rajul Saghid Ya Bunay. I think we'll do this next week, inshallah. So we'll stop there. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وآله وأصحابه أجمعين.